Good. Okay. Hello, this is Brian Purdy with the Florida Aviation Network, live and in the clear from Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo 2024. Day 3, again at the Innovation Showcase in the Future in Flight Plaza. Today we're visiting with Fabian Lim of FliteSim.com. He is the founder and CEO. We're going to talk about the products that he's brought to show today. We got some great things for pilot experience and practice. Good morning, Fabian. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Brian. Pleasure to be here. Sun and Fun.
Yes. It is our first innovation showcase. Have you been to Sun and Fun before?
This is my first time, and just to let everyone know, we flew all the way from Singapore. It was 24 hours.
Well, hopefully you'll get some time to not only be here at Sun and Fun, but maybe even take in Central Florida.
Absolutely, that's a plan.
That's great, because you got to tell everybody what they missed so they come next year.
For sure, for sure. Yes.
Great. Okay, so tell us a little bit about FliteSim, how long you've been developing the product, and the status of it, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So FliteSim.com was established actually just last year, December, and the R&D for the product itself has been going on for over 6 months, and we are right now at a stage where we are ready to launch it via Kickstarter. And in fact, we've already sent more than half a dozen units to reviewers all around the world so that they get a first-hand feel of the product itself. Now, what is the product and why is it so important for pilots? I think for pilots itself, flying is becoming more expensive. In Singapore, it costs a whopping $600 per hour to fly a beat-up Cessna 172, right? Yeah, it's probably cheaper in the US, but also the fact that a lot of pilots don't get enough practical hand flying experience, whether you're flying VFR or IFR. So for us, the simulator comes in next best. But the critique of the simulator, and this is true of most of the pilots we have spoken to in Sun and Fun, is the fact that the yoke itself, the control column, is not realistic. And what we mean by this is that it's a spring-based column, and that's not how it works in the real aircraft. For example, if you are flying the aircraft and you are taking off and you are climbing, and you trim the aircraft, what happens in the real aircraft is that your forces get neutralized, right? Your yoke doesn't go back to a spring center location, and we've been able to replicate that with our force feedback yoke. Now, the second exciting thing is our claim to say that we are the world's first affordable modular force feedback yoke. What does it mean is that we are the first, I believe, to have broken the $1,000 price point, making flight simming on a force feedback yoke a lot more affordable. In fact, we're launching this on Kickstarter in April at USD $799. So I think that would be exciting news for all pilots, student pilots, licensed pilots, and very serious flight sim enthusiasts.
That sounds great. And
all right, so let me give you a tour on the yoke itself. It's all metal construction. The yoke handle itself is hardened resin, reinforced steel plate behind, so it's going to last you for like 20 years. Now, let me share with you one of the more important features for those of you who are pilots and student pilots who, didn't find flying in the simulator that realistic. I'm going to unpause the sim over here, and what you will see here, I'm going to use my left hand to fly because that's what we do on the PIC seat, on the left seat, is that when I climb the aircraft, so I'm going to just increase on the throttle, the aircraft start climbing. Now I pull back on the yoke, but I don't have to hold, I don't go back to the center like a spring-based yoke. You notice that if I pull, and I now use the trim over here, that's 3 clicks of the trim, and I let go, the yoke stays in the position, just like the real aircraft. If I needed to push down, and it's taking some force because it is force feedback, I trim down, and I let go, 500 feet a minute, the yoke position stays itself, right? Now, with other questions like how does the yoke calibrate, so let me show you very quickly. If I power down, and this comes as standard, the emergency stop for for safety reasons, and I can reposition the aircraft on the ground with the engines off. So I'm going to switch everything off. Okay, so first things first, how a force feedback the yoke works is that it is self-calibrating. So when I power it up, it's going to go through its own self-check to make sure that the pitch and roll servos are all working correctly. It's going to find its own center. And right now, I'm going to enable the cockpit, start the battery, alternator, and now at this point, let me introduce to you our software. So this is our software that is the brains of the FFB. So how we do is we click connect to connect the software. It will check to make sure that the servos are all working. We connect to, in this case, X-Plane. It works for Microsoft and Prepared as well.
So is this a component that has to talk with FliteSim or?
That's correct. This is like the middleware, the integration between the hardware and the FliteSim software.
Okay, so is that all built up of a SDK that they provide?
So we provide the software itself. It's an EXE. It's meant to be consumer friendly.
Okay.
Yes. Now,
I mean, as far as connecting it to the FliteSim.
So FliteSim, this is all you do. You click the connect button and you click connect twice. All right. Now the other thing that we have added, of course, is the effects feature, where you can disable effects or enable effects. And we have noticed when I enable it, the yoke went full forward because it knows that the aircraft is on the ground and the propellers are running. So the physics require the yoke to be full forward in a Cessna 172, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So with this, let me just start the engines up.
That depends whether you can control wheel lock in.
Well, yes. I mean, if you're on the runway and you have the control lock in, boy, you are in for a ride. You're a funny guy, Brian. Okay, start. So I noticed that there's a vibration on the yoke itself because it knows it's starting up.
So this is a USB connection from your device to the laptop.
That's right.
And it's basically bypassing having to do all this stuff on a keyboard. It's allowing you to do all the start engine and everything.
Okay, so this flight console, thank you for asking and clarifying, is optional. We are basically launching the console at the same time as the yoke. So maybe you want to show them the actual standalone yoke on the left side here.
Okay.
This is the one that sells for $799.
Okay. So
right.
This is going to be available later, or?
Both will be available during the Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Right? So
on the standalone, you're still using the computer.
That's right. The keyboard or the mouse or your own hardware. Over here, everything is provided.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, right? Yes. So now, let me just show you a few other features.
Okay.
Particularly the takeoff, and maybe I'll get the Pex to help me here. I'll need two hands and a lot of focus. Okay. So parking brake release, and I'm going to now power up. Now you notice that the yoke is full forward right now, but very soon it's going to go to the center. So anytime now it's moving to a more center position. And about 60 you can basically rotate. And from here onwards you can pretty much just trim fly, so you just basically trim fly itself. And again, one of the most realistic aspects is not only the force itself on the pitch and the roll, there is no going back to center, which to me leads to negative training if you're flying a spring-based yoke itself. Like this case, if I push forward, it stays forward essentially, right? Whichever position you go, it stays. And if you need help to reduce the trim forces, you can trim. Now let me just get to altitude about at least 1,500 feet, and I'll show you the stall itself, right? So a lot of people like to ask, is there a stall shaker? Well, we added it for recreational purpose. So I'm just going to gain some airspeed itself.
You don't want to make people think they got one when the aircraft really doesn't.
Right, that's true as well. But because our software is designed to simulate multiple aircraft type.
Yeah.
That's right. So if your aircraft has a stall shaker, you can enable that feature itself. So as we are climbing, let me just show it to you here. Right, all these engine vibration, stall warning can be enabled or disabled. So if you're flying a jet, you may not want to have engine vibration, for example. Oh, there it was. So if your angle of attack is we set the parameters which you can alter as well, right? Obviously different aircraft stall at a different speed, but at this time now, if I start to pull up and reduce some power, the angle of attack rises, the speed goes below stall, and I keep pulling, and you start to see the whole thing shudder, right? The high pitch shuddering as well. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Now the other thing noteworthy as well is that our base yoke, which sells for $7.99 during Kickstarter, is a 60 Newton force, maximum pitch force, and the shaft length is 165, and that is true of a Cessna 172. So we measured that the average pitch force of the pitch itself is 59 newtons in the real Cessna 172. The pitch length 165, and this is the full-size Cessna yoke itself. So it's perfect for a Cessna 172. Now you'd be asking me, what about if I want to fly a King Air or Beechcraft Baron? Well, we have designed everything to be modular. The model can be increased up to 120 newtons without having to buy a new yoke. You just change the model itself. And the yoke handles are all going to be modular as well. So we're going to be launching, the next yoke handle would be a Beechcraft Baron, and we're open to customers in terms of what they need, including but not limited to a special VR style yoke, which means it's not realistic, but we have had our prospective customers tell us, hey, I want to have more switches here because I fly in VR. I want to be able to come here and press stuff so that I don't need expensive console or a keyboard or a mouse. So we said, bring it on. Tell us what kind of design you're looking for, and we're bound and open to helping produce what you want, of course. So again, finally, when you fly with a force feedback yoke, then there is never a spring center. A lot depends on your aircraft condition to keep level flight. For example, right now, if you want to level off at 1,500 feet, you fly like a real aircraft. Right, you watch your VSI, you watch your airspeed itself. When you reach altitude, then just a bit of trim. In this case, let me just get up to 1,500 feet. So we're now 1.5. I'm going to push the yoke down like in the real aircraft, and I observe where the VSI is. I should be at VSI 0. And after this, I can now regulate my speed itself. And the other thing as well, I'm not sure if you can see in the video, but there is a bit of a shudder here, engine vibration, depending on the RPM of your aircraft itself. So that's it, Brian. We're doing our part to innovate flight simulation, help pilots to practice their flying at home in all weather using a flight simulator. And of course, if you're going to ask my personal opinion on which is the most realistic simulator on the market, to me as a real-world pilot, I'm going to tell you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be X-Plane 12 for sure. X-Plane 11 or 12. Microsoft is great. It's great eye candy, but I think the flight model still needs some work. But for now, I would say April 2024, the X-Plane 11 and 12 makes a great training tool. And the good thing about this is that you can just come here and toggle the weather anytime you want, and boom, you're going to be in IFR conditions. And right now, you can practice your IFR approaches in a very, very safe manner, right? There could be a mountain in front of you, and if you mess up, well, guess what? You just have to reboot. You don't have a second life on Earth, unfortunately, right? So that's where we are, Brian. Thank you so much.
Now, this is a new product for you guys.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to leave it this way. And this is just fixed wing. Do you foresee other aircraft configurations like helicopters or anything like that in the future?
Very good question. The honest truth is that our manufacturing partners, we work together as well, already have the technology for force feedback helicopter, fighter jet yokes. The challenge right now is to get the technology to miniaturize and to bring the pricing down to that of the GA expectations. So our first product here, we have been able to successfully, price it at $799. Of course, our margins are razor thin, but again, it's all about building the brand, building the trust, building a high quality product that people appreciate. Right. Sure. So actually, this is a prototype which will officially launch in June of this year. This flight console, as you can see, has a few firsts. Number one, it has circuit breaker panel that you can simulate, right? And we have wing flaps that, in the actual situation, that has servos that move along with depiction like this. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see, right? Our elevator trim right now is static, but we can link it to the yoke itself, such that when the yoke trim moves, this is also electronically adjusted as well, right? And of course, we have a twin power quadrant on the right side. So this is actually a twin model, and this will probably retail about the 3250 in June. Now we have a more inexpensive model, which is for a single engine, so there's no circuit breaker, no fancy elevator trim, and things like this. That's right, and that is going to retail for under $2,000.
Okay.
That's right.
So, and it's all using a single USB cable from the computer?
That's correct. So it's one cable for the console, another cable for the yoke itself.
Oh, so you didn't make sure you have at least
two available, but it's okay because we are using a hub, just like you can easily find at a Best Buy or anywhere.
Okay, so
no problem.
It's not like it's overloading any particular port. It's just you just need to have multiple ports.
That's right. So it doesn't draw a lot of current itself. Just standard USB cables. So not a problem. You could fit 10 of this on a laptop and it'll all work fine.
But it's not getting its power through the USB. It's got a separate AC.
That's correct. So it's powered separately by a power adapter for the console as well as for the yoke itself. That's correct. Yes.
Hey, well, listen.
Yes.
So as you said, this is the introductory bare bones, strictly the controllable yoke, all the same feedback on it, and as for the person starting out on FliteSim, say, okay, I know my way around the cockpit or whatever, but now I want the real feeling of flying.
That's right. So Brian, absolutely, we are going to be launching this entire all-metal unit on a Kickstarter for $799, and it's going to change the way you fly, right? When it comes to flight simulation, you don't have to be fancy. You can see here that we're using a very consumer Cytec rudder pedals, which is fairly inexpensive. You can do the same for a yoke itself, and we have been powering the entire X-plane on a laptop. So we have a fairly inexpensive setup. I mean, this could be a work laptop itself. It's going to take 200 gigabytes for X-plane, and with this itself, you're going to get fairly realistic training itself, right? Nothing fancy, but you can get it, at $799, and you can use this to, train on your PPL, private pilot maneuvers, instrument maneuvers, commercial maneuvers, and itself, in my opinion, the more you train on a high fidelity yoke itself, you're able to transfer the learning. In fact, this is something that I've offered since 2017 in Singapore, because as you know, flying there is 600 US an hour. So what I've done is actually I purchased a Redbird MCX. It's a 2-seat force feedback full motion simulator, and we train our students about 15 hours in the sim. And in fact, in this year alone, 2024, we have had 4 graduates for a private pilot license, pretty much all about the 40-hour mark or 45 hours in 30 days or less. So that's I'm a big fan of simulation done correctly. done correctly with the right kind of controls, so that you do not have what we call negative transfer of learning. Yes, and I think that this yoke will help everybody, from student pilot or even commercial pilots, to keep current itself.
Now, do any of the rudder or throttle controls have any type of feedback, or is that something that your company might look at in the future?
So yes, you're right that, as I said, we already have the technology for force feedback rudder, but we're currently using it on certificated simulators, up to the FTD level 5 kind of certification. Now, unfortunately, that's not consumer friendly. So the idea here is for us, the challenge is to miniaturize the technology, simplify the materials, bring the price down for itself. Yes.
So is that something that your company is looking at in the future?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
You might as well provide everything you need.
Absolutely, right. So the last thing I want to say, of course, is that all the components, as you can see here, will start to build up into a fully FAA certified system. Like if you're looking at this guy over here, right, this twin console, we're going to be providing a G1000 unit on top, and with the computer system, with the flight models and seat, then this becomes an FAA AATD system itself. And our single engine model, right, will be designed with a monitor screen in front, a computer behind, and some seats to make it a BATD itself. And that's what we mean by modular technology, right? So in other words, you don't have to foot out $2,000 for our console. You can buy the yoke first, save up some money, right? I mean, that's how people save up money for flight training as well. And maybe next year you can buy our single engine flight console, and the best part about it is modular, so you just have to remove the box. We're going to show you how to do it, and the entire force feedback yoke can be mounted on the single engine console, and now you have a complete flight system without any wastage at all. Now, if you want to, again, as I mentioned, fly a heavier aircraft, a King Air, twin turboprop. Now the yokes are all heavy, very heavy for sure, because it's a big aircraft. Again, as I said, then all you need to do is to upgrade to a more, beefy pitch model of 120 newtons. So nothing's left to waste in that sense.
Now I know flight sim requires a certain speed and of processor to work. Does the yoke or the console require any greater CPU power than the flight sim software itself?
Great question. The answer is no, right? Because firstly, our software has been optimized. It's just data packets running on the back end. For example, in X-Plane is basically taking the data res from X-Plane and converting it into actionable movements for the pitch and roll servo itself. So it doesn't take much additional CPU or GPU in that sense. And I think the best proof is our laptop, right? Our laptop it's not a high-end laptop. It probably costs you 12.
Would it be a gamer level laptop?
Well, okay. So the answer would be, however we define, it would be best to have a graphics card, right? So we have the NVIDIA GeForce RTX. It doesn't have to be the high end. I mean, our laptop costs us $1,200 US. It's not high end. It doesn't cost even more than a Mac, for example. But as you can see, the frame rates are still at 30 FPS, no problem at all. So the good thing is that, the whole idea here is that it's consumer friendly with the fidelity. That's what we're trying to achieve. So it would have to be a fairly newer edition laptop. 2023, 2024, you'll be fairly safe.
Well, Fabian, thank you very much. It's been very entertaining and informative, and something for us to look forward to. Any last words? We hope you're enjoying Sun and Fun. And
absolutely enjoying Sun and Fun, the camaraderie. Our fellow, booth sponsors are also really nice people. So it's been an exciting experience. It's been well worth the 24-hour flight all the way to Florida itself.
Well, we hope you get some time to relax and enjoy Central Florida, and then go from there. But for now, this is Brian Purdy with the Florida Aviation Network, live and in the clear from Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo 2024, the Innovation Showcase in the Future in Flight Plaza. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
See you.
Okay, great.